What's up, everybody? This is Rob sitting here with Brett.
Hey.
We are actually talking about Rumbleslam, a game of fantasy wrestling by TT Combat. We had the opportunity to play this a couple times over the last couple of weeks. We felt the need, it was important to share this possible hidden gem to make people aware of it. So, yeah, tell me about your general first impressions of this game when I said, hey, look at this game I bought.
Yeah, when you told, like, you had mentioned it a few times, and then you were like, hey, I bought it, and then I came over and you showed it to me, and I was initially like, another one of those kind of silly games, but, and then I started looking at the models that came with the box, and I was like, you know what, these are actually, like, the models that come in the box are actually awesome, and...
Yeah, so the game itself is you build a team of wrestlers using something called Dosh, which is their equivalent of money. And it's a over-the-top battle royale, kind of Royal Rumble style rules. If you're familiar with the Royal Rumble, it's basically, you beat people up until you can toss them over the top rope, and first one to be eliminated loses, or whoever has the most Dosh in the worth of... wrestlers in the ring by the end of turn 5 is declared the winner. So primarily for this, we're actually just going to be focusing on the starter box, which I actually have to say is a pretty good value for what you get. So you get a ring, which is made. I can't remember the name of it. It's the mouse pad kind of style. You get 2 wrestling teams. You get the humans, which consist of humans, halflings, and an ogre, and you get the orcs, which come with orcs, goblins, and a troll as well. And both teams are pretty evenly matched. They have some slight similarities, but more or less they play pretty much the same. As far as the actual models go, they're one-piece resin. They do require a bit of cleaning, but I got everything ready in about 2 hours, I think. Which is pretty good, and it's been a while since I actually worked with resin, and I just remember the horrible nightmares, but it was actually pretty easy. So what are your impressions on the models?
The models are pretty simple. There's nothing fancy to them, but on the same token, they're detailed enough to where they're nice to look at. When you go to paint them, you're definitely gonna, if you even decide to paint them. You'll definitely, there's enough to paint to keep it interesting. They're all very clear. They're all very, nothing, no details are like swallowed in whatever's around them. The models are also on the bigger side, like they're bigger than your standard like tabletop wargaming models, so it makes it a little easier to work with. And also, every model has a stance. Every character has a stance.
Yeah, that was actually something really cool we discovered. So actually, so it seems like some wrestlers are kind of broken down into categories, like there's grapplers, brawlers, big guys, and stuff like that. And actually, it seems to be across kind of the basic teams. Grapplers generally have their arms out kind of in a position, and their brawlers are kind of either cross-armed or, they're
cracking their knuckles.
Cracking their knuckles, yeah. So it's actually kind of cool that universally they came up with a subtle way to kind of be able to mark certain things. Like, obviously there are named characters who are just kind of unique, and we haven't even gone into that. But, yeah, I just wanted to point out that kind of really cool thing.
Yeah, like there's, we've done, in the rule book, they have images of not all, but a lot of the starter teams. Like there's an undead starter team, there's a beast starter team,
And can we just talk about how the undead starter team probably has the best model in the entire range? It's literally like a skeleton, just like a straight up skeleton, and he's just wearing a leotard.
Yep, a straight up, one piece, super skinny, like banana hammock kind of, leotard, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, I have to say, the people who did this must have had such a good time, and it really, I think, reflects on their work. And if there's anything that I will give this an A++, a 5-6 star thing, is just the art design of just the art in the book, the miniatures, just the ideas in general, I think were just clearly made by people who really love, specifically Hulkamania era wrestling.
And like the whole concept and like Rob was saying, it's very well represented in the visual art and in the model design. The whole concept isn't quite like a tongue-in-cheek humor kind of thing like you might expect out of like the Fallout series, but it's a comedic concept approached from a very serious angle, and it all just comes together so perfectly. It's like Rob said, it's there's a lot of that Hulkamania feel, but I think there's a decent bit of the Attitude Era feel too, because one of the pieces of art in the rulebook was a skeleton that was a backstage interviewer, but he was wearing a Rumbleslam necktie, and just...
I think, honestly, just skeletons wearing, like, random pieces of clothing is just now funny to me. Like, a skeleton in a tie, a skeleton in a leotard.
Yep. Like a skeleton wearing a beanie cap and gloves would be the same.
Oh, yeah, and also just, like, speaking of the jokes, like, some of them are so just not subtle. Like, there's one model called Baxter who's literally a bulldog, and he has, like, he's
got the English Union Jack wrist guards, and he's got, the braids with the red, white, and blue.
Like, it's not even subtle.
Yeah.
Like, you just...
And you've got, Gravedigger, and then you've got a dwarf called Ronnie Salvage, who is absolutely decked out in
tassels
and macho madness gear.
It's awesome. Like, I don't think there are many models in this range I would not buy. Exactly. Like, even though you're playing to buy the Undead team, I am also playing to buy them.
Yep.
I don't care, because I love the models for it. Oh, and then also another reference, speaking of Hulkamania, there's literally an orc ripping off his shirt just named Gun.
Yep. There's also a huge orc with a very I forget what it's called. I was reading it yesterday, but a very
kind of like a man bun, right?
Yeah, kind of like a very like the original Japanese-esque man bun, and he's wearing sumo gear, and his name is Orkishi.
Yes, it's and I think last reference is the elf who's dressed in gold and has the face paint, and his name is Comet.
His name is Guy. Yeah, yep.
Yeah, man, I could just talk about the jokes, but because that's
a huge part of the attraction of the game. Is a lot of it is, and it even boils down into like wrestling moves. Example, your halfling. What was it?
The half fling.
Yeah, I forget if it was the grappler or the brawler, but his like fancy move was a turnbuckle jumping attack called the half fling.
Yeah. Like, oh man, like literally, so basically my review boils down to, do you like wrestling, do you like miniatures? If the answer is yes to both, there's no reason you should not pick this up.
Yep.
You like, yeah, I mean, I'm wearing my Bullet Club shirt now, so I'm just a huge wrestling fan. This is definitely kind of a long overdue. I'm going to be buying pretty much all these. I can see just over the next few years I'm going to be investing in it. I was watching actually TT Combat do a playthrough. They have a 3D ring you can buy that actually comes with the ropes, and just like it kind of looks fun, just pulling your mini back to make the ropes bend to do their rope attacks, and it's just it's wonderful. So I guess we'll actually talk about the gameplay itself, because once you buy your miniatures and stuff, you want to sit down and play. What do you actually think about the mechanics in the game?
I think the mechanics were simple, but not so simple. Like our first game, we really kind of like plotted through it. It took us a bit to really get going, but you could learn how to play this game in an afternoon. Like there were a lot of things that we had misread and a few things that we had just like missed entirely, but anytime you're learning a new game, no matter what it is, you're going to deal with that.
Yeah, definitely. This is definitely a sit down, have a few beers with your friend kind of game, for sure. It's very simple to learn. So, again, just one thing I will say that's great about the starter set is just all the player aids that come with all of it. You get the cards for all the characters. And it actually gives you 2 things that tell you about the reversals, the beatdowns, literally action cards that tell you everything you can do in the game and stuff like that. Like, it's very easy to just be able to look at the cards and, see all the choices you have. One thing that I did do that was personally helpful for me is I actually double sleeved it. I got clear sleeves and I put them in the harder sleeves so you could write them on marker and that's also another thing. You don't have to do it, but it helped us personally.
Yeah, that definitely, like, especially keeping track of, how much damage someone took and being able to mark down that, they were hit by a certain move and it affected their stats in a certain way. You can make a notation on, just a nice clear sleeve, and, when the round is over or when those conditions no longer apply, you can just wipe it off and you're good to go.
Yeah, so that's personally the only change. They do come with a lot of counters, a lot of actually high quality like laser cut counters that come with the game as well. Like I said, this is an excellent value. Even if you aren't particularly interested in the human and orc teams, I personally recommend it if you can spend the money, simply because just all the stuff it comes with.
Now, how much did it cost?
I think I spent $70 on this.
70? That's not bad.
Which is pretty good. It's very good value, I think. I think the teams cost about $35 US dollars. The ring, if you want to buy the ring separately in the rule book, I think it's definitely cheaper to buy the core set for sure versus if you wanted to buy
everything piece.
Yeah, 2 separate teams in the ring and everything. But I know you're planning to just jump right in with the undead team, which I don't blame you because it's awesome.
Yep.
So
another thing I want to mention about a team setup, every team setup seems to follow the same general formula. You'll have 2 grapplers, 2 brawlers. You'll have like a normal size. Well, for example, the orc team, you have an orc grappler, an orc brawler. You have a goblin grappler and a goblin brawler, and then every team also has its large character. And for the orcs, it was the troll. So every team seems to have its big grappler, big brawler, small grappler, small brawler, and then just the large, imposing creature.
Yeah, so I think that's the case with the pre-made teams, but of course you can actually mix and match.
Yeah, you can definitely mix and match, which you might actually better place to explain the whole casino system.
Yeah, so it seems like you can mix, for the most part, you can just straight up mix and match. We haven't actually done any the sponsorship, but basically if all your wrestlers come from the same casino, which is kind of like a faction, there's Kaiser's Palace, the Feral Den.
Yep.
I'm not going to open the book and just take a look to see which ones there are because I don't remember. The Feral Den, the Forest Soul, the Rolling Bones,
yep.
Gamora, and Kaiser's Palace. So if all your wrestlers come from there, you get like sponsorship bonuses, like they'll get protein powder or something to give themselves extra attacks and stuff like that, which is pretty funny. But you can mix and mash. You can also change the dosh amount and stuff. I think Starter Kit comes with $1 million dosh on each team.
I think so, yeah.
But honestly, like one of the things I'm actually most interested to try is just do like all goblins. Just do luchadors. Just guard those turnbuckles just off the top rope. You can, because I think they only cost like 150K.
Yeah, something like that.
So you can like literally run like 9 goblins on the team.
Oh yeah.
Because there's no rule to say, you can only have... I think the only rules limiting the amount of people you have is your deployment. But actually, I was looking through earlier, and it did look like there were rules for, like, reserves. So if a person gets out, you can bring another person in. So I'm not too sure about that. We pretty much only play the simplistic rules. But it seems like you can actually do that. And also, if people are members of tag teams, you can actually do tag team attacks. But only one person can be in the ring for a tag team at a time.
Right.
Like, there's just so much cool stuff. And, there's expansions. There's like an ECW expansion where it comes with trash, so you can literally do garbage wrestling. And literally, one of the things you can use as a weapon is a car. But you can, like, attack people with, like, cases of beer and, like, a nacho cart and stuff like that. And then there's a referee expansion, which actually, when I was watching TT Combat's playthrough, they had a referee called the Jittery Referee, and of course, people were messing with him and stuff like that, and they were doing rope attacks, and they were picking him up, using him as live ammunition, and when he took enough damage, he became a werewolf. And, literally the miniature got switched out with this giant werewolf who's ripping off his referee, and then he could just kind of go ham on everyone. And also with the referee expansion, you can also get pinned as well, which is a whole other mechanic. So yeah, just even talking about it now, I'm just like, I need to go shopping.
Yep.
I need to go shopping. So, who would you recommend this for?
I would recommend this for anyone who's into tabletop gaming, wrestling, fantasy stuff, any combination of the three. It's a very light game. It's really fun. You can definitely get really into it, but it's a nice, simple to learn. You're not dealing with the sheer time dedication required by, large scale tabletop wargaming. It's fun, it's easy, it's light, it's, you can easily, and, if you're really into it, you can do all kinds of cool stuff. You can set up tournaments and great big events. So I would really recommend this for essentially anyone in the tabletop gaming community, and especially those who are into, wrestling. This is something I think really has a very broad potential audience base.
Yeah, and just kind of in today's day and age, marketing and tabletop so hot, things can fall through the cracks of viewership, but I certainly, literally, the checklist is, do you like miniatures game? Well, if you're listening to us and you don't like miniatures game, what are you doing? If you like wrestling, you should really, really look up this game. You should at least consider splitting this. If I got it for $70, $80, it's $35, $40. That's half a unit in 40K.
Yep.
There's no real downside to it. I personally love it. Honestly, as soon as we're done with this, I'm going to recommend we go play a game.
I'm down for that.
Yeah, alright. So that's our first review. Let us know what you think. Did you pick up Rumbleslam? Do you have teams? If so, yeah, send us an email at rollforattention@tabletroop.com, and we'll be back to our regular show.